was funded by Samuel, and he recorded the 5 CDs on our Southern California bird songs from his family, starting from the beginning and in sequence through the 5 CDs. So that was one of the reasons we honored him. And he also was a student body or an alumni president at the time, and did a lot of work with our museum and many other things, always supported all of our events. And then he also helped us to bring back the school song. So he did a lot of things. Him and his wife were very much our Sherman family, as many other people are. So after his death, we named the auditorium the Robert Levi Memorial Auditorium. So welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd now like to invite up the Torres Martinez Bird Singers to the stage for some bird songs. And we are currently streaming on YouTube right now.
Hello everyone, it's good to see you here today. My name is Derek Earl, we're the TM Bird Singers. Introduce a few people here, my brother Ed, cousin Frankie, son. You know, we were started by my uncle Ernie, rest in peace, our elder and our mentor, our teacher, you know, and he taught us these songs to be able to come and share them with everyone and for our people, and help keep his memory alive, you know, for doing what he did. And that was to teach us these songs and to share with people. So we're going to open up with a creation song, and then the songs after that will be social songs. And if you want to come up and dance, you know, you're more than welcome after that. But we'll get started for you right now. song, so if you want to come up and dance, you're more than welcome. Yeah. Slow down, not everybody at once. It's okay. Plenty of room.
no, no. Ay, ay, ay,
Hey. Doing it. Yahuwah, Amula, Amula, Hey, Amula, Amula, Hey, 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 Yahuwah, Amola, amola, ay kamola, mola, hey Yahweh. Amola, amola, ay kamola, mola, hey Yahweh. Amola, amola, ay kamola, mola, hey Yahweh. Amola, amola, hey Yahweh. Amola, ay kamola, mola, hey Yahweh. Slow it down for you a little bit. How are we looking? I wasn't keeping track. How much time we got?
However much you want.
Oh, wow. Can we get some chips? For real?
I mean, we want to eat at some point, but
Enough said. One more?
tacos outside.
How about we'll close it up? Yeah? Everybody have lunch? Okay. All right, so tradition says last song everybody has to dance. So come on down. Everybody just stretches out along the front, up and down the aisle. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. You don't have to unless you really want to. I throw that out there every time and nobody falls for it. The first time for everything. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're yomo. When you're melek, when you're melek. Round of applause for our ladies, the dancers right here. Good job, ladies. Good job.
Thank you. We have some waters for you courtesy of San Manuel.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And now we're gonna break for some food. You can't eat in the auditorium, but you can eat outside. We've got some tables set up. And what we will do is stop streaming for a bit. We'll probably come back at about 2:15. And we'll get started with some introductions, some group testimonial. We know some folks have to leave by 3, but wanted to say some things to the council. And then we'll start our panel a little bit after 3. Tacos are outside. Please eat. We want you well rested. And we'll see you outside. Go?
We're waiting for you to say go.
Okay. I'm just getting our live stream up.
You do the introductions.
Am I? Okay. You want to be introduced first for the surprise? Because then we have a little bit of testimony before we do our panel.
Nobody can be.
You can be on whatever you want. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second day of the second fully in-person listening session, quarterly meeting of the California Truth and Healing Council. My name is Christina Snider. I'm the Hilikana and Makamo, and a member of the Dry Creek Ranch Native Band of Pomo Indians and the Tribal Affairs Secretary for Governor Gavin Newsom. A huge thank you to Sherman Indian School for hosting us here today, and to the BIE and all of the partners here who have, yes, feel free to clap, who have graciously hosted us here today. And as always, thank you to Loretta, who set up a lot of this. After a few housekeeping items, we'll have some introductions around the room. Or we actually may do the introductions after the panel, just in the interest of time. But before we get started, I'm going to briefly walk through what we're doing today. We've had our opening blessing, we had bird singers. We're going to have a couple of words from Robert, and then we're going to get into some initial testimony of folks here who came, who wanted to speak, who might need to leave in the next 20 minutes. And then we'll get started a little bit after 3 on the panel, where we'll hear about perspectives of people who have gone to Sherman Indian School or who go here now. Once we're done with that panel, and we welcome again community engagement, feedback, thoughts, questions. Again, always wanting to have the overlay of respectful engagement. We will then open back up to more public comment, community comment, and if folks want to introduce themselves around the room, please feel free to do so at that time as well. We'll end at about 5:30, or when everybody gets tired and leaves, up to all of you. We are recording today, and this is the camera right here, in case you're wondering, and it is live streamed right now on YouTube.
Our principal's here.
Okay, great, thank you.
So maybe we could do the principal and testimony, then have Robert do his thing.
I'm gonna do Principal Robert and then testimony. Okay, so again, I'd like to remind everyone that joining us here, you agree to adhere to the council principles for respectful engagement, and there's a copy at the front. Refusal to adhere to those principles, which apply to everyone, may result in your removal from today's convening. If you feel at any time that you need to step out, or you feel that you may be in need of assistance, please find one of our team and we'll help you get some air. And just as a reminder, those principles are to engage in the work of the council and with others in an open and respectful way, engage in behaviors that will make others feel welcome, take care of your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical well-being, and seek support as you need it. I also want to remind attendees that as we work through today's discussion, this process is necessarily open to all Californians, but we ask that those here as allies ensure that they please respect the space and voice of California Native and Native participants, particularly elders in this process. For anyone who is press in attendance, we ask that you engage with the process with deference to the Native experience, and that you commit to obtaining consent and final review from the Native peoples that you hear from today. We don't want this to be an extractive process, and we hope that you'll assist us in creating a safe space that is open and transparent and welcome to all. So with that, I'm going to actually start with a welcome today from Principal Delbert Ortiz, who is the principal here, and then we'll hand it off to Robert, who has a surprise for everybody, and then we'll open up for testimony.
Is it okay if I went down here?
As long as you go
If
back.
you could kind of go in that center space so that we can at least,
Sure.
yeah.
Good.
It's good, I'm Duke. My name is Delbert Ortiz, and I come from the Tonopah Nation, and I am honored to be the new principal here at Sherman. I started here 5 weeks ago, and it's been a roller coaster ride, but I'm still in there. And there's a lot of history here at Sherman, and like a lot of our students, my parent, on my dad's side, came to school here in the 1960s, and so that's one of my purpose for being here is to continue that legacy with working with our Native students, and I want to welcome you. Thank you for participating today.
Go. Take it away, Robert.
Yesterday, we were at CSUSB, and I
Keep
kind of
walking.
led into today
Robert,
about.
Go a little bit that way so you can show the camera. We gotta get you front and center.
Anyway, so I promised you a surprise, and this is a surprise. Back in April, I believe, Senator Ramos put a state recognition to my father. And so we got 3 of these plaques. One of them sits in my reservation at Torres Martinez, recognizing what my father's done. And we mentioned that yesterday about preserving Kuya culture. And again, you heard my cousins, Derek Toro from TM sing our bird songs. And some of those were my family bird songs. Some of them were the Duro family bird songs. But again, the renaissance that those 4 Kuya elders did back in 1980, if they didn't do that, we probably wouldn't be here singing bird. But on this day, I thought it would be very appropriate to present to Sherman Indian High School and the students here the plaque. Again, one sits at TM, one sits in our family room at home, and I'd like to have one sit in this auditorium. You already know you're in the Robert J. Levi auditorium, right? Yeah. It's named after my father. So we'd like to present this plaque, not the blanket, that's my daughter. So someone was saying, oh, you're gonna get a blanket with you? No. So it's just a resolution from the Senate Member Ramos. I'm not gonna read it because it's, if you wanna read it, you can come up and look at it later on, but I think it's very apropos for Sherman to have one, and this is the time to do it, I felt. So I think you guys are coming again like I did yesterday, and on behalf of my family, Robert III and Mary Levi, we hold a really close relationship with Sherman. My wife's parents both worked here, and like I said yesterday, we're boarding school brats. So again, coming back here, so we're all began 40 years ago for me. So it's very, very exciting to come home. So on behalf of the Levi family, I would like to present this to Sherman High School and to everyone here. So take it away. It's all yours. Any response?
If it had, I actually got to meet James C. Ramos, and he was a very nice man. We heard him be able to speak at the SYNC event for family night, so he had some good words of wisdom and encouragement for me, so he told me to keep going to school and everything. But this is a huge honor, if it had.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And if you want to show it up to the camera too. At this time, we're gonna open up for some testimony, because we know a few folks have to leave, so that'll be about 30 minutes, we'll open up for testimony. If you have to leave in the next kind of 15 to 30 minutes, we wanna prioritize those folks. And then we'll open up the panel that I had spoken about, and then have kind of collaborative discussions. If you'd like to give testimony, please come up just so that we can see you. If you don't feel comfortable coming up, I can just give you the microphone so you can sit in the space. We don't want you to do anything you're uncomfortable with. So, are you ready, Lena? Okay. And as other folks want to speak, please feel free to kind of informally raise your hand, and then we'll have kind of that informal process. Here you go.
This has been a lifetime for me to get into it. What happened to my dad at this school is something that shouldn't happen to anybody. He was here for 10 years. I'm from the mountains, way in Northern California. He didn't have contact with his family. He said he had one cousin that would send him money that was in the Navy once in a while. And so, I've never been here. He didn't talk a lot about what happened to him. But I do know it was painful. One of the things he talked about is they were always hungry. And they used to go out in the fields and steal watermelon to eat. But there was no safe place for those kids. My dad was here 10 years. My mom was in Chamawa, which is north the other way. And they're both from the same community. I don't know how they picked where they sent their kids. But what happened to him? He lost so much. The things that happened to him, the things he learned, the sexual abuse he endured. Because parenting isn't inherent, it's learned. So he learned some bad things. And those bad things he took home. When he raised his family, they continued with me and my siblings. So, truth and healing, there's healing all kinds of ways. The pain that happened to my dad here needs to be acknowledged. I got a box from the National Indian Board of School NABS, and the first thing on top, when I opened that box, it said, "We love you." And that made me cry. It's like, oh my God, finally to be acknowledged what happened to our children who grew up to carry that abuse home. I'm one person. I don't know how many else it's affected. I'm sure thousands. And it destroys families. I've worked with Indian youth majority of my adult life, and they all have these holes in their soul because they don't know what happened to their families. No one wants to acknowledge what happened to our children. So to me, it was really important to come here to see what has happened to my dad. Because he was never allowed, he never wanted to come back here. He never wanted to talk about it. And I acknowledge that you guys are here now and you're doing positive things, but there was many, many, many years it wasn't positive things happening here. My husband's aunt ran away from this place because she got caught speaking her language. She had to peel 500 pounds of onions at one time because she got caught speaking her language. She was honored. She ran away. It took her a year to get home, but she ran away with 3 other girls from different parts of California. So, being in this place, I do believe in the spirit of place. I believe in the spirit of the land. And the land didn't choose to be the abuser of these children. The government did. Another way to destroy us. And they did a damn good job. So I wrote some comments down. Because it's kind of hard to stay focused when you're up here. So today I come to the belly of the beast. I come here, the beast who stole my father's innocence, the beast who stole his traditions, the beast who stole his language, the beast who stole his family, the beast who stole his teachings of family, The beast who stole his safe place. The beast who stole his identity. The beast who stole his life. They stole his sense of importance. The beast taught him how to abuse. The beast who disconnected him with the spirits of the land, who connected to his soul, to his sense of place and belonging. The beast who taught him secrets, how to keep them. I know I won't find answers, but I needed to see where he was abused. I needed to see where he got lost. I needed to see how far he was from home. It's a long ways for us. I needed to try and understand what happened to him. How he was always hungry. He hated being woke up at 3 a.m. to go work in the dairy. To see where the school teacher could take his innocence and be supported by the system to destroy the young man. You cannot take back the damage that has been done. The damage that carries on for many generations. The damage that is mostly unspoken, for people could not possibly believe what these children went through. You cannot fix it, but you need to acknowledge it. He was stolen from his family for 10 years. Sorry. He was tortured and sexually abused. He was starved. He was lost. But your plan did not work. I stand before you today as a culturally activated colored woman who has dedicated her life to bringing back the system you tried to destroy. I come to show my daughter that life is stronger when you listen to the old ways. The spirits of our land still protect us. The land still wants to help us. The system that hurt so many people extended that hurt to so many generations that came after. But there is a light that shines, a flicker that glows and will continue to shine as the flame gets bigger and shines all over Indian country. Let it be known, we are still here. We still practice our language. We still practice our ceremonies. We still continue our connections to place. May the work we have done help make our future generations stronger and survive what may come. So this was I dedicated my life to Indian country, but today, this was for me. As soon as I knew they were going to meet here, I started contacting the school. And I got to run around. I contacted the museum. I contacted everything. I want access to the records when my dad was here. I don't know where they are, but I want to find them. I want to find out everything I can about when he was here. And it's like a metal door. No one, not once did they email me back. Not once did they call me back. And a friend yesterday told me where they are. Thank you. And I will do some research because I need to know. I need to know about my mom too. Because the stories I have are not good stories. They're bad stories. Some of the things were so bad, my dad never told me. He told my husband because he's another guy, but he wouldn't tell me. But I want you to know that every child that endured that pain went with them. Epigenetics, that trauma. Hopefully, I'm one of 5 that abuse happened to. I'm the only one actively participating in our culture. The rest of them, it was too painful or they lost it. So I do believe each one of us is chosen by the Creator before we come to carry on in our way. And hopefully, any healing that comes gives you strength to go on and continue with your journey, continue with your chosen work that you have to do. And I thank the council that I was able to come down here because I probably wouldn't have been able to on my own. And for me, it's a start. And I want us all to start that journey. And don't let anybody knock you off. And thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Is there anyone else who would like to share at this time or react or comment? Okay. I think before our panel, what we're going to do is as we always do, introduce ourselves in the room just so we can all be comfortable, all know who's in the room. And then as we move forward, feel free to engage with the panel, engage with each other, and we'll go forward in that good way. So I'll start with myself because I have the microphone. Again, I'm Christina Snider. I'm Nihil-Kana in Makamo. I'm a member of the Dry Creek Rancheria Band of Pummel Indians, which is our ancestral homelands are actually flooded under Lake Sonoma. And I'm here as a convener for this work, really here more in a listening capacity and understanding what the needs are of the community in order for us to move forward in a way that feels respectful of what all of you want from the state, want from this process. I'll hand it off to Loretta.
Hi everyone, my name is Loretta Miranda. I currently serve as Deputy Tribal Affairs Secretary for the Office of Governor Gavin Newsom. I am a descendant of the Morongo Band of Mission Indians, so I'm happy to be home. And just want to thank you all for joining us today. For a little bit of background, I'm also an attorney. I worked for the Crook tribe up north for a little bit and practiced Indian law. And again, thank you for being here. And that's it.
Great, so we'll go around the room. I know there's some council members here, but I think we'll just go kind of through the rows. And I know that these girls up here are getting shy, so I'll start with the one that doesn't want to talk first.
Yes, please.
Hello, I am Ava Chavez. I am the student body president. I am from the 20 River Yoka tribe.
Thank you. And these two women are not at knots right now with all of their friends, and so have made a big sacrifice to be here today.
Yat Asia, my beginning, she, Tabanishne, Tabahabashi, Torok Ojadasha, Dona, Kagane, Dashanale, Kont Ego A, Asantnishne. Hello everyone, my name is Mai Begay. I'm the Miss Sherman of 2022 and 2023 for Sherman Indian High School. It's kind of glad that we're kind of here, so yeah, and nice to meet all of you.
Thank you, and thank you both for being here. I'm gonna come over here.
Good afternoon. Lorraine Sisquak. I'm a member of Fort Sill Apache Tribe of Oklahoma and a descendant of Mountain Kuya. We also have Donna Occam and Ute Paiute ancestry. I was born here. We lived on the campus of Sherman Indian High School when I was born in 1960. We have a long history with boarding schools, starting with the first one, Carlisle Indian School, Pennsylvania, when our tribe surrendered to the United States government in 1886. They took, it was in September of 1886, and by the spring of 1887, the young ones from our tribe were taken to Carlisle Indian School. And so my grandma's dad was one of them, and other relatives. And but he was in his 20s, and I think about 2021, and he did have a wife and a child at that time. And at Carlisle, his wife and child died, and they're ones buried there in the unmarked graves. We have several of our tribal members that are buried there in unmarked graves and marked graves at Carlisle. We also had a great uncle from our Kuya side that went to Carlisle, Manuel Largo, and attended. With both of them, on our Apache side and Kauai side, they went through the assimilation process, and later in their own communities, through the resilience that we have with our people, they did hang on to bits of our culture. In our Apache group, in our Apache tribe, my grandma's dad, Tabakure is his name. He's the grandson of Chief Mangus Colorados and Chief Loco. And so during imprisonment, of course, we couldn't do our dances. Some of you might have seen the mountain spirit dancers, the crown dancers of Apache tribe. Well, during imprisonment, of course, 27 years of imprisonment that they lived, couldn't do those. But when they were freed, in 1914, our particular group was freed, and 80 of them, of my grandpa and my grandma and the family, my great-grandpa and my grandma, and 81 of them they chose to stay in in Oklahoma, until they could go back to our homelands in New Mexico. And that never happened until recently. So he was instrumental in bringing back our mountain spirit dance to our tribe then, and many other things like that. So the resilience of some of our tribal members that attended shown through that, you know, now that dance group still dances today. My sister even dances with them. And, you know, so the training he got at Carlisle was a carpenter, to become a carpenter. And I've seen a lot of quotes from him almost to me, it sounded like, you know, he was broken. Like at one time they said he was pleading with then Secretary Taft when he was still Secretary Taft, and he was pleading with him to let them go back to their homelands when they released them. And he said, we'll live like white men, we'll live in the square house, we'll send our kids to school, all these things, you know, pleading, but just, you know, let us go back to our homelands. Well, that didn't happen, of course. So then the next generation in our family, we had on my mom's dad's side, her grandpa attended Paris Indian School, which is our predecessor, and his siblings. And one of them, when I started volunteering at the Sherman Museum in the 80s and in the 90s, I ran across a biography from one of the great uncles from it'd be my mom's grandpa's brother, Tom Largo. And the biography, he talked about his time at Paris Indian School, and he talked about being punished for speaking your language, and talked about the jobs they had and different things like that. So it really brought to light a lot of things, you know, that I hear about, and then in our family. And the same with him, one of the things he did, even though they weren't, you know, allowed to speak the language and things like that, somehow it was approved in 1904 for ethnographer Charles F. Loomis, who's the one who started the Southwest Museum, for him to come out and record students of California Indian tribes here at the school in 1904. His concern, his request was based on the fact that he felt that all of this was dying, all the language, the culture was going to be gone, it was going to disappear, and he wanted it to be preserved. So he got approval to do that, and he recorded several students in 1904 with the wax cylinder. And so it just happened when I was there at the museum. The catalog came, it was just sent to us from the Library of Congress, and it's the California Indian Wax Cylinder Project. It was in the 90s. And so I just right away looked into I didn't know anything about that what had been done. And I look up Kauai, and there it is. Thomas Largo, which is our great uncle, Faustino Lugo and Ignacio Costa singing our same bird songs like you heard today. And it was, you know, something very important to me too, just because it wasn't passed on in our family like that. So just to know that a family member was, and to know those were recorded here. There's several other songs recorded there. And then the next generation in our family to attend boarding schools was my grandma, Ida Goday Largo. She was born in 1903, a prisoner of war with the Chiricahua Apaches. She's buried there her and my mom were buried there at the prisoner of war cemetery at Lawton, Oklahoma. Anyway, my grandma when she was born, they were still prisoner, but they didn't free them, like I said, until 1914. And her mother had died in a tragic fire accident. And so my grandma was sent to Chilocco. So that continued our boarding school experience. And she went to Chilocco, then to Phoenix Indian School, and then to Haskell Indian School, and graduated there. And so once she graduated, she went into teaching in the Indian schools. And she taught at the day schools on the reservations. She went to Blackwater, the Gila River, Salt River Reservation, and then she was sent to Shanto on the Navajo Reservation and taught there 6 months, and then went to Tuba City and taught there 10 years. So my mom grew up at Tuba City on the reservation there, but my grandma taught at day schools. At that time in the 50s, you still had to go to boarding school if it was high school age. There wasn't many schools available for many people. So my grandma did not want my mom to go to boarding school. So she transferred out here to Sherman in 1951. So that's how we ended up here. She transferred here to Sherman so they could live on the campus, and my mom and her siblings went to public school. So then began our family's involvement in the boarding school. So my grandma retired here from Sherman. She worked here from 1951 to 1967. She retired as a teacher, academic teacher. She worked here through the Navajo program. And then my mom started working here from 1969 to 2000. She worked in the dormitories. My mom was very instrumental in promoting and supporting the culture in her dormitory and others. She was instrumental on the committee to start the first powwow here. Just many things that I learned from her, watching her, about the importance of culture and traditions. And so she retired here in the year 2000, and I've been working here 40 years this October, since 1982. So that's my boarding school connection here. Thank you.
Me one, you know who I am, oh my gosh. Anyway, I was trying to figure out what kind of tips that I haven't told you already about me. And basically, when we're talking about, especially with Christina and Loretta, when we're listening sessions before the past 2 years, we hear the traumatic, horrific, genocidal attitude or what's been done to us in California. But again, what I'm looking at is how do you fix that? How do you find a solution? The healing, Truth and Healing does that. Again, getting it off your chest, letting everybody know that this happened to us. You know, what Governor Bennett started back when we became a state, what the Spanish, the Mexican government, the Russian government, and the American government has done to this state 4 times over, being invaded. And again, I'm on the education subcommittee for Truth and Healing, and that's my, I mentioned it I think yesterday too, that's my goal. My goal is how do we promote the solutions? When I was here for 2 years, it basically came over to me that I was teaching to the choir. And it's not us, it's more non-Indians that need the education. The education, ooh, I had to say education. And so I left here to go to the Catholic school, and again, that's where I went. And I went to that Catholic school, and just the teaching there that they didn't understand in their history. And then I got into advanced placement, and the same issues is that I was the only Indian when I went to a workshop or anything to do with advanced placement. I was, the Indian. Everybody had to go talk to the Indian about Indian history. Which just really shocked me that they didn't know, and they need to know. And right now, AP has an American Indian Student Advocacy Committee or Council that they get together with American Indian issues. I was just talking to a teacher last night, and they said AP, and I knew this 7 years ago, instituted more pre-Columbian history, and the AP teachers didn't like that, because they never taught it, because they never been taught to do it. And so it was only 3% of the test had questions. You had 3 or 4 true and false or multiple choice questions, and maybe a free response and a short essay. But again, my kids, and what we were doing, what AB 1703 did or does is that implements Californian history in the history social studies framework. So that's a very positive thing that Assemblymember Ramos has done. But again, we're finding out that, I'm part of California Teachers Association too, we're finding out that the teachers who are doing that aren't trained to do that. And it's just highly recommended. So they don't necessarily have to do that. But if they're doing a good job in terms of being a teacher, they really should. And so with that, we're my wife and I, she was just running around here, we're already curriculum for the ethnic studies portion also. And with that, we're killing two birds with one stone, 1703 and ethnic studies. So again, we're writing curriculum about California Indian history, Southern California. And then as we go along, I'm working with the Coastal Valley Ohlonies, and just saying, okay, steering in the right direction. But again, they have to ask the Ohlonies, the tribe that's within their schools, if they're doing a good job. So that's the healing process. That's what we need to work at now. We know what's going on. We know that's happening. We get it. We have to get it off our chest. But how do we solve it? We've got our lawyers, we've got our doctors, we've got our dentists. But the issue is still there. And if we could get more of our teachers, or more of our California Indians into the teaching profession, pretty sure that there'd be some kind of acclamation about what we've been through. And again, that's what's needed to get more healing. And so that's what my process is. And then this subcommittee, and when I'm at Cal State San Bernardino, that's what I'm trying to do. Really quick now, I'm moving into the mascot issues. Again, I think I mentioned it yesterday. Now, I thought it was all done, but no, within this area, Riverside and San Bernardino County, our unified school districts, Riverside has two schools that are still named after American Indians, Norte Vista Braves, and I think Arizona Intermediate, I think they're the Warriors. And then San Bernardino County, there's Altaloma High School are the Braves, Altaloma Junior High are the Warriors, and Altaloma Elementary are the Chieftains. You kind of see a little progress in there with Altaloma. But anyway, so that's on my agenda to fix, hopefully, within the next year or two. So again, the healing, that's what I'm trying to get accomplished going through Cal State San Bernardino, and also getting people at UCR. Gerald Clark, who was on the panel yesterday, he's at UCR. So we're trying to get that within the universities to help us, and then reaching out to University of Redlands too. So again, it's hopefully a whole effort within the Inland Empire to begin to recognize who we are and our contributions to American history. And I just read yesterday that there's a book out about Greg Myers, the catcher is Kuya. He played with Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig on the New York Yankees, and that's fascinating. I mean, talk about a role model. So again, that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And if you haven't watched Indian Horse, that's another really good, impactful movie that explains the atrocities of boarding schools. So again, just so if you have my card, please contact me. Again, a shameless plug. I can need all the help I can get, especially from the community and from parents. So thank you guys, and thanks for coming for both days if you did. We really appreciate it. We really do. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. And I think, as Robert kind of did, if there are ways that the community can help you, or the state, or anywhere, please feel free to mention them so that we can connect with you afterward. We're doing introductions right now. Would you like to introduce yourself? You don't have to say all of the things, but you can say as much as you want.
Mi hija Netonia Ne Alexis Duro Ne Nsibongna. My name is Alexis Duro. I'm from the San Gabriel Band of Mission Indians, Gabriel and Otanga. I graduated from Sherman here in 2009. I'm currently a residency teacher here, but I think we will be getting more into that during the panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you the one who drove from Paula?
What?
You just came from Paula?
Oh yeah, I just came from Paula.
Openly Pintoish, greetings everyone. I'm Joan Harper. I'm a member of the California Truth and Healing Council from the Northern Region. I am Homo Nikos Miwok. I'm a citizen of the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria. And I want to thank you all for being here, participating, and to let you know it's a great honor for me to hear what you have to say and bear witness to your stories. Thank you. Come over.
case you heard that moan. As you can see, I'm an antique, so. My name is Carmen Lucas. I'm a Quimby Indian from the Laguna Mountains, San Diego, California. I'm here as a member of the council. I'm delighted to see you all and to hear what you have to say. Hopefully we'll be guided with the right information to do the right thing for California Indians. If you have any questions or anything, please speak up. Thank you.
Mishistu. My name is Dee Matsunada-Sabara. I'm tribal chair from Umshanamatu to Loni, and I'm also a Gabrielino.
Oyawi, my name is April Miguel. I'm from Round Valley. I'm Yuki, Little Lake Pomo, Valaki, and I'm also Mishmo Wabo on my father's side. Today, I wear the hat of Director of Community Partnerships and Projects at the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health. It's my first time here. My grandmother went to Sherman, and just want to thank our relative that was speaking earlier. That was really powerful. This is my first time here, so it's pretty heavy, even though I'm here to help. So just thank all of you here for being here. It's really important for us to be here, and so just thank you and appreciate being included. Thank you.
Ayikui Nakna, Virginia Hedrick, Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Virginia Hedrick. I'm the Executive Director of the California Consortium for Urban Indian Health and a member of the York Tribe. And I'm really honored to be here. Also, the granddaughter of Sherman alum, although my brother and I were talking, my grandmother, she didn't graduate here. She left here before graduation. And I called my partner because his grandmother also went to Sherman. And I'm like, what year did she graduate? I'm looking at all the pictures. And he's like, I don't think she graduated. And then to hear that story again, shared earlier that, so many of our folks escaped this place during that time. And she didn't head back home. She stayed down here for over a decade. And she would have my dad in 1927, when she was 27 years old in 1943, in San Diego County. And take him home to the reservation to be raised by her parents. And then she would come back later when he was like 6 or 7 years old. And that was a cultural thing that used to happen often, particularly when times were really tough and younger people needed to continue to work, which is what she came down here to learn to do, was to work. She learned to be a domestic worker, and she was a welder and a riveter during World War II. And she talked about the food too. Like, in our family, we joke a lot to try to keep things light. So we would ask her about her experience here, and she's like, oh, the meat and the white gravy. And we're like, well, what was it? She's like, I don't know, it was chunks of meat and white gravy. And that sounds terrible, doesn't it? So, to hear experience of being hungry and like, who wants to eat chunks of meat and white gravy, among many other things. But also the story of survival and resiliency. She later went on to be the teacher, a prolific teacher of the Yurok language, and recorded hours and hours of Yurok language, was a Yurok language teacher, and went on to publish a book with Humboldt State University, a conversational book. And we heard this yesterday, and I couldn't speak to it yesterday because it made me really emotional, but she would always be like, you can't think Indian until you can speak Indian. You don't think like an Indian. She would always say that to us, growl at us about everything. We would, say or do different crazy things, and she would say, you're not thinking like an Indian. That's what's wrong with you. You don't think like an Indian. And part of that was language and how important language was for her. And so when she went to publish a book, she didn't want to publish a dictionary. She's like, anybody can know words, but you have to know how to say them. You have to know how to put them in a sentence, and your kids you're messing it all up. You're saying it in the wrong direction. And it was really important for her, for folks to be conversational. So this isn't my first time here. This is my second time here. And I'll just share another quick story because it's a little bit lighter.
I went to school in LA at UCLA, and I worked for the American Indian Retention and Recruitment Program. So we would go out to Torres Martinez Tribal TANF in Gardena and tutor TANF students once a week. And every once in a while we'd go out to local high schools and talk to high school students about considering UCLA as a place to go for undergraduate. And so we came out here on an air event to Sherman, and that was my first experience, and I was young, and I didn't take it in the same way that I'm taking it in today. But a few years later, at UCLA, I stayed really active as an alumni. I met a young woman, and her name was Gladys. Her name is Gladys, and she said, "You don't remember me, but I remember you." And I was like, "Well, where have we met?" She said, "I met you at Sherman, and you were the first person from a reservation that I ever met that went to UCLA or any school like that." And she said, "When I met you, I thought, if she can do it, I can do it too." And she came from South Dakota. She traveled from South Dakota to be here at Sherman. And she said, "So I'm here because of you, because I saw you do it." And she's a native designer now. She has a brand of clothing called Tosa 2 Hearts. So I share that story as a part of healing, like Sherman alum out there doing stuff, doing incredible work. And that was a healing experience for me too. And I think it's important that we share those stories about Sherman alumni that are out there doing really big things and increasing visibility and representation of Native people on a broad scale. So thank you for being here.
I am Queen Frankie Myers, Vice Chairman for Yurok Tribe and a member of the California Truth and Healing Council. Days like this week, the last one, is why I wanted to be on the council. Because we have a story to tell, and it's heartbreaking, and it is powerful, and it's uplifting, and I wanted to know it, what the full story. And I think days like today, where we're telling the whole story of like the ones my little sister just told now, the ones that our elder told before, because that's the whole experience, right? Like it is this terrible, horrible, amazing, beautiful, powerful experience, and you have to have it all, right? This is the Indian experience of this whole setting. This is my first time coming here to the school, and being very guarded by the whole conversation, not wanting to carry too much of it on, trying to keep a little bit of a distance from yesterday's lighthearted conversation about repatriation and ICWA. Today is very, it can be a lot. It can be a lot, but I think the more we hear the conversations, the more we're part of the conversations, the more we are sharing the true stories, all of the true stories. That's what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, this is the intent of the councils, to have these conversations, to listen to these conversations, and then hopefully one day put all of the beautiful, terrible story into one narrative that we can share with everyone. So very glad to be here today, and glad to hear the conversation up to this point, and to share the day with you all. Welcome.
Thanks, everyone. My name is Jason McCannell. I'm an ally. I'm looking out to see, and it looks like almost everyone was here yesterday, so I'll just go through my resume really fast. I work at California State Parks, where I direct the Digital Atlas of California Native Americans on behalf of the Native American Heritage Commission, and I'm also involved in the Reexamining Our Past initiative. My training is as a geographer, so I've been working a lot on place name changes, including the big sweep of the S word that was just ordered by the Secretary of the Interior. Related to that, I've also recently been appointed to the brand new advisory committee on reconciliation and place names at the Department of Interior. So we're going to be exploring other derogatory names, I think, and other problematic names that appear on the national map. Trying to do something about it finally. And I just wanted to, make a personal statement. I did about as much school as a person's allowed to do. Was skeptical about my education from grade 1 until they gave me a PhD. Continue to be skeptical of my education. Continue to learn things that I was taught that were not true, especially about this part of history and anthropology, etc. And to see an institution like this that seems to me, based on the alumni I know, great leaders in the community and things like that, it seems to be doing the opposite of what it was originally designed to do, and that gives me a lot of hope. So thank you. Very glad to be here. Who's next?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ana Mendoza. I use she, her pronouns. My family is indigenous to lands in Central America, and so I'm thankful to be able to be here today to learn more about what's happening here in this land that I was born in, and the history that's happened here, in particular in this particular part of the world. I'm here, the hat that I'm wearing today is as the Education Equity Staff Attorney for the ACLU of Southern California, as we are working more and more to support the education efforts of Indigenous students, and we're looking also to just support the work of the council in any way that we can in our region as well.
Hello again, my name is Jessica Mosher. I'm Yaqui. I am working doctoral candidate at Oral University School of Public Health. My studies focusing on health policy and leadership, and I'm very happy to have this space to be able to hear stories from my elders.
Hello everybody, my name is Christina. I'm also a doctoral student from Mississippi Pacific, and I'm just here to erase some of my ignorance. For example, I was here 6 years ago watching a Lion King play from community members from different schools around here, and I just realized today when I was talking during lunch that this is still boarding school. I thought it was converted into a regular high school. So I'm willing to learn and coming with you guys.
Hello, I'm Henry Vasquez. I'm the chair of the Native American Community Council of San Bernardino and Riverside counties. My indigenous background is from Mexico. It's Huachichi, and that's from the state of Jalisco. Like a lot of people have commented, there is so much to learn and so much to help each other with, to give support. And that's, I think, what I would like to do the most. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dan Romero, and I'm Southern Youth from Colorado. And in this area, I'm a member of the Coastal Mill and Representative Carmel. And my purpose right now is to learn a lot of history. I've read a lot of history, but it took me back to hear the real thing from the woman that was here, the group woman that was here. That really got me. My goal is I'm a sculptor. My goal is to make public sculpture that speaks well and the truth about Native Americans. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dina Romero, and I'm here. I help my husband. I just want to learn more, and I appreciate that everybody here accepts me and tells me their stories. And thank you for being here with me.
My name is Jonelle John. I'm from the Korea Band. I'm Indian. I sit on the Riverside, San Bernardino County Indian Health Board as an alternate tribal member.
The most uncomfortable people get it first.
I'm the chairman for the Kakukalu Band of Ohlone Coast-Ohlone Indians of the Big Sur Rancheria. I'm also a council member with the Truth and Healing. It's an honor to be here amongst all of you. I'm sorry I missed yesterday, but I'm here today. Look forward to the conversation that we're going to have, and look forward, and I enjoy, I should say, the conversation that we had right now over lunch, over a meal. I really enjoy being able to have those conversations that happen outside of the conversation we're having right now. Shubu.
Hello, my name is Alma Garcia. I'm from Guatemala, Piche Maya, and I'm here as support.
Me, Javier Rodriguez, member of the Tribal Council for the Loretta Nation, and also the spiritual leader.
Hey, hello, David. My name is Nicholas Rocha. I'm the chairman of the Gabrielino Tribal Council of Southern California. My mother started our council back in 1979. We're one of the oldest, if not the first, tribal representative of the Gabrielino people in the Los Angeles area, which we call Tungvangar. So we're happy to be here. Some of our concerns, besides the mental health aspect of it just being a generation away from some of these atrocities that most of everybody suffered here. We got to remember that our ancestors suffered a lot just for our existence here today, and to speak what we can speak, because when we heal, they heal. So it's important for us to tell our stories. Our main concerns are, but not limited to, besides the mental health issues, is ICWA, the Child Welfare Act, and the Indian Child Welfare Act, where children that are not federally recognized are still being put in homes that are not culturally right for them. They're still being brought up as Hispanic, not indigenous. And we're looking to change that. I don't know if the Supreme Court came down with the ruling yet, but whether the reform's going to take place. But from what I hear, they're leaning toward the federally recognized tribes only, which is a big mistake. Also, our concerns are with CalNAGPRA and the new federal implementation of NAGPRA on the new guidelines, specifically to the disposition process, where that would take a lot of non-federally recognized tribes. It'll be a little harder on them to claim cultural lineal descent or likely descendant. So we would like to help out the Native American Heritage Commission in any way we can to help reform the mindset that people have when it comes to NAGPRA versus CalNAGPRA, and make the corrections where they need to be made. Thank you.
Hello, I'm not the soul. Halito Chipmunk. Diawa'u. Yes, hello. In my Chickasaw, in my Menominee, my Sioux languages. I'm a relocation baby. My parents relocated to Los Angeles through the Bureau of Indian Affairs in the 1950s. And at that time, my father graduated from Haskell Indian School, boarding school, became a welder, because back in the day they trained Native Americans in vocational trades. So he took welding. After graduation, he enlisted in the Navy, was stationed in Long Beach, was a welder in the Navy. My mother left. She graduated from Chilocco boarding school. She's Chickasaw from Ada. Oklahoma. And when she came out here, she was trained at the boarding school on secretarial skills. So then she became employed with Rockwell, which then became Boeing. So she retired from Boeing. Excellent retirement plan. She's 88 years old. Marty lost my father when he was 54 due to mesothelioma, a hazard from being a welder. Well, I worked at Sherman in the early 80s. I came here in 83 and left 87. Lori's mama was one of my supervisors in the dorm. I first started working in Juanita, then I went to Milwaukee. And then at that time, I was getting my bachelor's degree and I had to find different hours because my classes were all in the day, all in the evening. So then I moved into the academic building up here and I became a teacher's aide in special ed. And at that time, it was a very big cultural shock to me because I first learned about how trauma affects your learning. There are students that witnessed their parents commit suicide, and it disrupted their learning at an early age, and that carried on till they came to high school, affected, so they had learning disabilities, basically in the retention area. So the first thing the teacher made me go through was the cumes, and as I read the cumes, my heart just broke. And then I knew I had to see the student like in an hour or two when they got to class, so I knew I had to compose myself because then I realized the trauma that these teenagers had to deal with. You know, who was studying post-traumatic stress back in the day, right? And that's what these teenagers were dealing with because of all the trauma that they seen on the reservation. They would come here, carry that with them. So as time goes on and Sherman grows, so does that historical trauma still carries on through here. But then Sherman has grown and has taken notice on mental health, doing a lot with mental health and suicide. So I've seen this campus grow big time. So I left in 87, went to work for Cal State San Bernardino in outreach and recruitment, and I came back to Sherman to recruit students to Cal State San Bernardino. So I knew only I could do that if I was educated. I had to get my bachelor's degree, get my master's degree in educational counseling, so that I could come back to Sherman and empower the students to pursue higher ed, just like my friend over here from UCLA. We both know who Gladys is. Very, very powerful story. But just, I'm here today to talk, be with truth and healing, because truth hurts. But we can only do that and then to heal and then to move forward and acknowledge all the hurts from the past so we can mend and get better and get stronger to help our future generations. Because we have to help that, like the gentleman said, when we heal, our ancestors heal. And I so believe that. So I'm proud to be here, just proud to be back on the Brave Camp. And so if anybody comes and watches the students play ball, play basketball and volleyball, that's one of the things that we have as Indian people, our athletics. We're very competitive people in our spirit. And the students come here and know that they have good coaches. They know they're going to go to CIF. They know they're going to go somewhere and play here. So there's other opportunities than just academics. Okay, thank you. And who's next? Oh.
Thank you for having me here. My name is Jake Lowry. My late grandfather, Stanley Lowry, and his brother, Leonard, came and attended Sherman in the 1930s. And Leonard's daughter, Judy, is an artist, and she painted for a book called Home to Medicine Mountain. It's a children's story, and it's about my grandpa and his brother when they would run away from Sherman. during the summer, they would hop on the train system. They rode the trains back up north. And so I've always been struck by, they were little boys, to do that. So then what was the alternative? What were they running away from? But I was also inspired by Judy and my other family members who are artists, because so much of our history as Indigenous people revolves around, our emotions. And I've learned that the artists in our Native communities are the ones who help us facilitate and heal, whether they're traditional singers or contemporary artists. So I'm very interested in learning from California Native artists in other communities, and not just about resilience. Resilience is good and we need that as people, but I'm also interested in Indigenous kindness. And all of my work, I've had the privilege of working with many, many elders from my grandparents' generation for the books that I've written on World War II and the Korean War, and I've worked in PBS. But all of my work is the result of the kindness of Native people, Native elders, their kids. And so I would encourage the council, yes, we need to hear stories like Lena Bauman, who started us, that powerful story that she shared about her father. But I know that we also deserve and need to learn about the kindness that keeps us going as Indigenous people, whether it's in ceremony or language work or council work. I've had many, many veterans be so kind to me over the years. So that's something that I would hope that can be a component to this truth and healing, the Indigenous kindness. And I'd be very interested in, in the different words in our different Native languages, what the word kindness means in our languages. Because there's something there right after it. This place did not defeat our people. And I think there was a kindness attached to our people, to our ancestors that allow us to exist today. And I'm just hoping that we can talk about that kindness and know more about it. And then I'm also interested in, like my grandfather's example, Stanley Lowry. He went to Fort Bidwell boarding school as a little boy and was horribly abused there. Then he went to Stewart boarding school in middle school, and then he ended here in Sherman in high school. And then he went right into the U.S. Army and fought and killed Nazis for this country. But what he wasn't able to do was to learn how to be a parent. Because he went, when we're kids, that's who you learn from, the adults in your life. You learn those parenting skills, and they can be good or they can be bad, just like Lena shared. And so I'm very interested in looking at the parenting skill set of California Native communities and families, and how we can support parents as they are using culture or reintroducing culture in the best ways that they can, because that's the ripple effect of those boarding school generations. And then on my mom's side, the Yurok side, my late grandmother was 4 years old when they took her and made her go to the Hupa boarding school. She's 4 years old. And I appreciate what's going on now here at Sherman, and I know that there are good things happening, but it is a little surreal to be here on this place where I know, I have family members that went through hard experiences, and so I dedicated myself to learning about the laws, the early California state laws that were designed and structured for the genocide of California Native people. So I've done a lot of research on that, and that's a heavy subject. So the way that I balance it is I write comic books, and at the end of this, I brought some copies of one of my comics to give out. I don't know if I have enough for everybody, I'm sorry. But it's an example of art as healing. And so my last hope for the council is that you can continue to find funding for the artists in our community. And art is a broad term. Actually, I think in a lot of our native languages, there is no word for art, right? Because it's a way of life, it's a philosophy, it's not something separate. But if you can keep looking for more funding, because I'm always appreciative that the artists in our community are the ones who envision those healthy pathways for us. When we see their art, when we hear those bird singers, those were they're such power. I mean, it helped me to sit here in Sherman, the grandson of a Sherman boarding school survivor. So I'm thankful to them, and I'm very thankful to Lena Baumlin, the lady. She's a dear family friend who I did not know, her history. But yet, she's was the medicine person for both of my sons' ceremonies, our brush dance ceremony. She helped them with babies. And so, where did her kindness come from? Where did that come from? Knowing her father's experience and her experience. But she helped my family in a different way, to have a different pathway as young Native boys. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Scott Oriana Ingles Coggins. I am Bibirinawa Kushkatleko. It's really good to be back here at Sherman. Just want to recognize the council members and secretary for your amazing work with the commission and the amazing meetings that you've been convening this past few months. It's really good to see Ms. Siswak and Mr. Robert Levi, and I think I saw Mary running around here somewhere. It's good to be back at Sherman. I am Nawapipi Kuskatleko. I am the grandson of Engma Oriana from Zacatecoluca, and I am also the grandson of Enrique Ingles from Mexicanos, and the son of Gloria Alicia Scoggins from Antiguo Cucatzlan. That is the country that you now know as El Salvador, Central America. So I see my sister over there. And on my father's side, I am the grandson of Jeanette Towers and Garden Scoggins from Chicago, and Richard Scoggins from El Segundo. I'm very honored to live here in Gabrielino territory near the ancestral village of Topinga, and spent a good part of my professional career working with Native kids, higher education, trying to inspire them to get back into their culture and to pursue degrees and come back into their communities and take on those responsibilities and those roles, right? So it's good to be back here at Sherman. Just briefly now, Strategic Partnerships and Development Coordinator for CTHC. Just want to make a plug that we've recently received accreditation for the American Indian Language and Teacher credential to support Native American California state recognized, federally recognized citizens to get the Language and Teacher Credential 893. So with this, just falls right at the heels of the amazing work that Chairman Ramos has been doing. And we're very happy that our first cohort is representing California from the top of the Yurok Nation all the way down to the border, to Kumeyaay territory, and everywhere in between. So thank you again. For the people here at Sherman too, I just want to raise my hands in respect and a lot of cariño that I have for you all. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Juanita Mendoza. I'm Yaqui. I work for the Bureau of Indian Education. So I am Director Dairyman Special Assistant. So welcome to Sherman, to our BIE school. I'm also from California. I grew up not far from here in Ontario and LA. So I feel really connected to the Native people here in California. I remember going to the Indian Center in LA. I remember my mom went to UCLA, so we were really connected to other Native families when she was in school. So I feel like I'm kind of here for two different reasons, professional and personal. But I was participating a little bit yesterday, hearing people's stories, hearing stories today, and very powerful. Just quickly working for the Bureau, I understand a lot of the history with our boarding schools, and being, an employee of the Bureau, it's always been kind of challenging because I know the history, but the organization that I work for today is not like that. The boarding schools today have people who are in the schools for very good reasons. They want to really help our children. They want to make sure that they are connected to their culture, that they are feeling loved. So just wanted to make sure I said that. And I went to Chemawa boarding school, so I do have that on my own experience with being in a boarding school. So, there's a lot of good things that can come out of kind of current day, boarding school experience. So, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Juan Herrera with the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians. Grateful for the opportunity to be here on day 2, and again, want to recognize Christina and Loretta for the partnership we have with you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jennifer Balco. I live locally, just maybe a half mile away. I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation. I also recently went back to work for an organization called California Indian Manpower Consortium that help Native peoples find employment and retain employment. More for as an observer. I must say, thank God I never had any family members going to any boarding schools. I feel blessed about that. I don't mean any disrespect, but life is hard enough. Anyway, hear more as a local citizen than anything.
Hello, my name is Kayla. I'm from Wainino, Indian. I didn't know that much about my background, but my uncle wanted to get into this, and he died about 3 years ago. And I'm like I do a lot of spiritual healing work and energy work, so I just thought that observing would be in the best interest of all of us. Thank you.
Miss Shadow ko kay karagdagan sa kayo Runtuno at tulad ako kaluna, or sama. It's kind of, I seen some of you yesterday and got a different feeling today this morning as soon as I walked in the doors. Yesterday I was really okay, still a little nervous. You know, I usually don't come to these settings. It's odd for me. But I felt a little comfortable because I was home. I was at my home campus, and I know I tell myself this is my place and I feel free. You know. But walking in here today, right off the bat, I didn't feel that great. I know there's been a lot of trauma here and a lot of stuff happened, and you know, and I acknowledge that 100%. But it kind of makes you, you know, reflect and think about what I guess even myself is going through today. And this isn't, you know, all about me. I know that, but it's it's about what all of our youth are going through today. You know, a lot of them, anyways, a lot of us. I'm not youth, I'm sorry, but a lot of us. I say that because I'm still in school, you know. I had a lot of trouble getting back into school. Right now I'm old, I'm 43 years old. I went back to school a few years ago. I've been through a lot in my life. I've, you know, had to struggle, and a lot of the stuff I brought upon myself. And why you bring this stuff upon yourself, who knows? You know, I've made a lot of mistakes. I tell people all the time, I'm like an expert at navigating the waters through school because I made every single mistake. Totally two different worlds. And like I said, me from the other side of the ceremony world, trying to reacclimate myself to my surroundings. It was tough. And then to meet these young students who are so bright and they're so smart, they're like, and for them to knowing that they're dying to get back in touch with their roots and get in touch with their medicines, and so many of them feel odd on the opposite side also. You know, they feel they still feel sometimes not Indian enough, if you were to say, and it's not because someone's intentionally making them feel that way. They struggle with the idea of, oh, well, this is, people come along and they're like, oh, this is the way you have to be, and this is the way you have to act, and this is the way you have to carry yourself. And I feel that same way too, because I feel like they feel sometimes when I meet people that try to impose their ways upon me. And this is how they feel. And this is what's pushing a lot of our kids away from wanting to be us. Shit, it pushes me away from wanting to be us. You know? So I felt weird here walking in, and I kind of feel out of place still sometimes. You know, I see different data from different perspectives of life, and it's just like, I feel out of place. I don't know. I don't know how to. I hope I'm explaining this clear enough. I mean, because it's hard to get out. You know, when we talk about walking in two worlds, I mean, some of us are walking in 5 or 6 worlds. You know? So I sit there and I listen to them, and I listen to the kids, and I try to understand what they're saying. I try not to intervene. I try to let them go with it, and I'm going to follow their ideas, and I'm going to stand behind them, and I'm going to grab their back no matter what. Because the future is theirs. My time is running out for as far as, you know, setting the path forward for our people. I'm a little older, so I really feel, you know, that a lot of the younger generation don't feel like they're being listened to. And I get that from them, you know? They're not, you see, when the Europeans first came across the ocean and came here, they saw us as a childlike race of beings that needed help. They need to be shown how to use the land and be shown how to properly act and how to find a new way in religion, and they were going to save our souls and they were going to show us a better way of life. Well, I mean, how good did that work out? And so, sitting here with this session yesterday, Dave, I says I don't do this often. My office is by the fire. But sitting here, listening and thinking what's going to happen with all this information that's being gathered about this. I guess what I kind of want to stress is we're not a childlike race of beings. And neither are our youth. They are very, very intelligent. They have a lot of good ideas. How many of us, we go around in our culture all the time, and, a lot of people do, and they start saying, oh, this is auntie, and this is uncle, and this is this, and this is that. And you have 17, 18, 19 aunties and uncles. But not one of those uncles is responsible, or aunties are responsible for you being here. They're not responsible for taking care of you. They have never taught you anything. And some of them have actually hurt us. And sometimes we get hurt and get to the point where I know I've been hurt. There's a point where I wanted to throw my wig into the fire, and I said, I don't care anymore. I don't care anymore. But it's important that we understand that we need to incorporate our youth into these decisions that are going to be made for our future. We don't know everything. I don't know everything. And neither does anybody else here. We don't know everything. And we don't know what's best for the next generations of people coming through. Somehow we need to make them feel comfortable, just like I wish I could feel comfortable. I wish I could feel comfortable today here. I wish I could feel comfortable next week on campus. I wish I could feel comfortable everywhere. But I'm going to always struggle with that. We can say it's because we need, we need more medicine around our people. And of course, I would agree on that one. And that's what I do. And I would agree on that one. And more freedom to practice that medicines. Because we do have limitations placed upon us. There has been crisis situations I've experienced where there is no way I can reach for our own spiritual medicines to help our own people. And one of the things we're taught is to always clean up and leave it there, and I'm not able to clean up and leave it there. And I have to take this home to my family also. How many nights did that cost me? How many nights does that cost me of staying up all night and not being able to get my stuff done? There's just a lot of things that need to be fixed. And I'll wrap it up, and I won't talk later. I'm tired of taking everybody's time. I'm sorry. But there's just a whole lot, and like you guys said, just try and let it all out. And I tried. I think I'm good for now. I think I got the main. I hope I got some kind of a point across. I guess the point across is that we're not all the same, and we're not all perfect, and we don't all know everything, and it really is difficult. And like I said, I have a lot of experience just from this, and hearing the political side of being an Indian, and the medicine side of being an Indian, and a cultural side and traditions, and these settings are hard for me. We do separate when we do ceremony and we do things, and this is where we don't have to take on any of this, and we can just go and do our job. And like I said, that's what I've been used to for 12 years, separating from anything else so we can go do our job. And I'm just trying to understand this world, understand this world that we're living in, and these communities we live in. But okay, I'm done. Go ahead and go, okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is David Barr, and I'm a member of Ramson Abdul. Thank you.
Welcome. My name is Joey Holder. I am Kumi. I'm from San Diego, Old Town San Diego. My grandmother was born in Old Town San Diego, and she was removed from Old Town in 1919 with her brothers and sisters and taken to Sherman Indian School, where she lived and was told her family was killed and that they no longer belonged to her. She stayed here with her brothers and sisters, and her brother ran away. He was taken, he and a friend ran to Hoopa. They were caught and brought back, and then he was shipped off to Haskell. My grandmother was outed at 13, 14 years old, sent to Hollywood to become a servant to somebody in Hollywood, and ran away. Her sister and her brother stayed. Her sister was outed the next year, and she found her way back to Old Town San Diego to look for her family, her and her sister. And her brother, his picture is still in the rolls, and we know he graduated from Sherman. My grandmother never talked about coming here until I was 20 years old in 1969, when she sat with me and we watched the people at Alcatraz occupy Alcatraz. And she looked at me, and then stories started rolling out of her about her terrible time being at Sherman and how hard it was and what happened to her family. And it was the first time, she talked about what happened to her. It was the first time she talked about being Indian. It was the first time in my life that she shared with me what she went through. And she was so conflicted, but she looked at me and she said, I see what they're doing. I understand what they're trying to do. And she said, all we wanted was to be proud of ourselves. All we wanted was to be okay to be Indian. All we wanted was to be okay. We wanted to be safe. Before she died, she made me promise that I wouldn't forget who her people were, and I would try to find her connections to her past. And that was in 1997. I raised 2 children. I was an adult. I went back to school, and I too I can say right now, I made more mistakes than you did because I'm older. And I made every mistake in the book, so call me. I'm happy to share what I learned, because that's the good part about making mistakes, is you learn a hell of a lot more than you ever think you really had the capacity to. Here I am. I've done my whole life working for research, archives, knowledge, California Indian knowledge. I have an education. I live in 2 worlds. I'm pissed off because I have watched since 1969 Indians come to the table, good people, gracious, kind, generous, thoughtful, intelligent, brilliant people come to the table. They have been called by governments, they have been called to volunteer, they have been called to help. They have always come. They've come for wars, they've come for information, they've come for public address, they've come for political reasons. They've come to the table. We are human beings. All of us here are human beings. And we come when we're called because we're good people. And we remain good people. We remain people who love the land and who love the world we're in and who want to survive it. And we've survived. But I'm pissed because we keep coming to the table. We have answers. We've been giving them answers for 100 years. We have answers, and nobody listens to those answers. And we have them, they're with us. All we have to do is figure out how to get them to where they'll stick. He talks about being fixed. Well, we need to fix the system that created this nonsense that we're still dealing with. And we need to fix it by having them listen to us and being accountable to the voices that we've given them and to the words we've shared with them. I will continue the work I do because it's important that I help everybody connect their stories, because I can do that. I found that path and that's what I'm doing here. But I'm still pissed. But the good thing about this council and what we're seeing is today I'm standing here really angry, really miserable, because I know I have more work to do and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But listening to the Taurus bird singers made me realize that we're going to do what my grandmother wanted. We're going to be proud of ourselves. There's a little bit of healing there because they're standing on the stage and they outlived all the sickness and all the anger and all the bad things that are here. There's good people here trying to do good work, and that's what's going to heal us. I have 2 Indian grandchildren that I owe more to, and I saw today that legacy is that we have to keep doing what we're doing until we fix it, because if we don't, we may not end up having a world, because we're just that crazy as human beings to do ourselves in, because we're not being thoughtful, we're not being careful, and we're not being human enough. So please, please, let's help fix this. Let's come together and figure out who we are. And let's let the government help us, but stand aside and let us have our own voice. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Albert Ortiz, and I'm a member of the Tohono Nation from Southern Arizona. And I am glad to be here today, and as part of the BIE school system. I've been a BIE school administrator for 17 years, and as was mentioned earlier, our system is an old system. It's part of the old Indian Affairs system that was developed, and some of our processes are still, I would say, archaic, old style, but it really, as far as us implementing our work, we have a really good system to fall back on, and as we go through this discussion on boarding schools and residential schools, our schools today have a lot to offer our students. And just the other day we were in a meeting with local colleges and universities, and they were highlighting students that they would have to learn how to live for themselves when they go to higher education, college. And some of our students are doing that already, learning to take care of themselves and able to function while they're away from home. And so our students do have a little bit of an advantage when it comes to those type of things. So thank you, and welcome again.
One more.
Hi, welcome to Sherman. My name is Tina Torres. I'm a school business specialist here. This is actually really a treat. I've seen some new faces, some old faces, and it's really good to finally meet some of the people that are alumni as well. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, and thank you all for introducing yourselves and sharing some of what brings you here today. Now we're going to have Yeah, I don't think the Zoom worked.
We're gonna get up real close.
No, it's gotta go back more. Lori's gotta be in the frame. Out of Santa. It was that bad. And I live by
So you're gonna do the narrator and questions to us?
over 20 years, all the stuff I know.
But I asked questions and then we'll go answer one by one.
Can you get me that chair? We're gonna do a lot of editing.
Real life, trying to make things happen.
Nobody walk this way.
Oh, they, so they decided. They decided they're saying they're keep it.
Okay, we've got you all in there, so don't make any faces. We're good. We're live.
Okay. So, brief history about our school. We started in 1892 in Paris, California. At that time, it was made up, the student population was made up of the local California tribes from Tule River Agency down all the way down south. And looking at the records, looks like 5 years old and up were the ages. And at Paris Indian School, it's about 15 miles southeast of here. The main trade was farming in those years. And we moved here in the year 1900. They laid the cornerstone for Sherman Institute at that time. And then 1901, they laid the cornerstone. And then in 1902, they started finishing the school, building the school buildings. They brought the older kids from Paris Indian School, and they helped to build the school. And then in 1903, the first student enrolled officially was Romaldo Lechuza from Mesa Grande, California here, and he was also the first graduate in 1903. And then at that time, all the other tribes started coming from all over the United States. And then when they moved here to the site here, they bought a 110-acre farm 5 miles west of here, and the farm ran from 1901 to 1946. And on that farmland is where our school cemetery is currently today. The trades became very popular here at the school during those early years. Everything from the girls, of course, domestic trades to painting, harness making, just a lot of the early type of vocations that were throughout the United States were done here. And then, but by the 1930s and 40s, it became very popular for the trades, and that was one of the I guess methods of recruitment was through the trades, through the music department, through sports. Those were some of the tools used in recruiting students here. And then by 1946, the California natives were mandated to go to public schools, and we started the Navajo program from 1946. And this is just a brief, there's so much history in between there. There's been so many dissertations, master's theses, and other research done. There's a lot of information out there. There's so many programs and different things that have gone through the years, but this is just a brief outline. And then the Navajo program lasted from about 1946 to the mid-60s. I think it went 16 years. And then they started back the regular high school program that we know today. 1970 became known as Sherman Indian High School and became accredited high school that we are today. The history, we do have a website. We're currently working on new websites. We do have the Calisphere digitization project ended in the year 2019, and so all the archives are available online for research. And I think that's a little bit of a brief outline of our school. Our school museum is housed in the original administration building of the school. It was turned into a museum on Indian Day 1970. It's a national landmark, and it's a Riverside City cultural landmark. And today we have a museum studies program through there, but the museum is only open a few days a week with our students, their 6th period of the day to help run the museum. That's part of their the museum studies class. But I think the important thing right now is meeting our panel. These young ladies are here to tell you about their time here at Sherman. We did have some from the class of 1970 were supposed to come, but they weren't available to come. And so we have some from our younger generations and current. So we're going to have them share about their times here at Sherman. We'll start with Alexis.
Okay, hi. My name is Alexis Duro. I'm from the Gabrielino Tongva Nation in Los Angeles. I'm also Chumash from Santa Barbara in the Northern Channel Islands. I used to come here. I started coming here. When did I start coming here? Before I went to school, I came here.
You were about 12 years old.
When I was like 12 years old, yeah. And I used to come and help my Aunt Lori in the museum. We gutted the museum because it had asbestos. So we spent a whole summer taking the museum apart, getting it tinted, and then putting everything back together. So that was like my first big adventure here, and then I kept coming back and helping. And I tried to go to regular high school, but it didn't really work out for me because my mom was in her addiction, and my dad was a single father, and so it was really hard for me to stay in public school. So I ended up coming here, and I had a bad attitude, to be honest, but that was because of the kind of life that I was living, you know, and so coming here really helped me. I became like a 4.0 student. I was on the National Honor Society, honor roll. I was Miss Sherman. And then Miss Clifford, one of the guidance counselors here, told me, you know, you should really think about going to college. And I was like, oh, I don't know, because when I went to regular public school for my first year of high school, those counselors over there were discouraging, and I was like, I don't know if that's really for me. And so then she's like, no, you should do it. You have really good grades. Like, I'll help you. Like, I'll take you to the ACTs and SATs. Like, I'll sign you up, do whatever you got to do, put you in the right classes. So I was like, all right, cool. Like, let's do this then. So then I just like channeled all of my energy into my academics. I ended up getting accepted to like 6 different universities. I got accepted to University of California, Riverside, University of California, Los Angeles, UC San Diego, and then Berkeley. They tried to recruit me even though I didn't apply there. But I ended up going to UCR because they had the most rigorous package available for me where I wasn't gonna have to foot the bill so much. So I ended up going there, and plus, like, the only place I ever knew besides LA was Riverside. So I was like, well, I'll just stay here, I'm pretty comfortable. I went on to UCR, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Science in Anthropology. And then I went on to get my first master's at the University of Oklahoma. I have a master's in law. And then I'm currently attaining a second master's through Claremont Graduate University, where currently I'm a resident teacher here at Sherman. I'm married, I have 5 kids. I speak my language. I still practice my traditional ways. My Chumash tribe, we are also my Tonga tribe, we are seafaring. So I still practice my maritime culture. My dad, he's a Tomol captain in our traditional plank canoes, and so I've been heavily involved in that. I paddled in a youth TIAC crew when I was a teenager, and then I also paddled in the Tomol just for the experience. It's not for me, so I leave it to that. I was a basket student of Lori's. Also, other women have helped me along the way. Lori, her daughter Blossom, Pauline Murillo from Samuel, Miss Clifford, the guidance counselor here, she's from La Jolla. Just different ones that have come into my life. What's Sparrow's last name?
Godoy.
Sparrow, her last name was
Narcomi, yeah.
Her last name was Narcomi when she used to come here. But her and her husband, they really helped me too when I was here. They used to come and do, during our IRG hour in the evenings, they would come and do different beading and, Indian stuff. And so they really helped me too. And so I just, really grew while I was here. I was on my own before, but I really learned how to become independent and on a schedule. And, all those, I was a dorm leader. And so I was in charge of making sure that people would do their maintenance and all kinds of good stuff like that. So it's hard to hear like all the sad stories that have come out of here. And I feel it, when people talk, and I feel the emotion, and you just get like that vibe. But for me, it was different, obviously, because like we're in a different time. And when I was going here, it's all about like keeping your language, keeping your culture alive, like sustaining those cultural practices. And so that's what I try to instill in my children. We have a youth dance group where I take my kids and we go sing and dance at different places. Like I said, I try to teach my kids our traditional way, and I like to think that my background coming from Sherman really helped to foster that in me, because even though I was involved before, like I was kind of embarrassed because I grew up in the city, like we don't have a res, so I was kind of embarrassed, but like being here with other Indian people, it helped me to be like proud of my tribe and proud of who I am and go out and represent everywhere. But yeah, I loved the time that I had here. I had a good time. Like I got my nephew to go here. I got my cousin and my brother to go here. They all graduated, so I try to get as many Californians from Southern California to go, to come here just to experience the experience that I had. Some people think it's boring, but if you already kind of have nothing, then you don't have anything to lose, right, coming here? So that was like my mentality. But yeah, being here really helped me to become the person that I am today. And one of my main goals was to try to come and give back. And I tried to work here a bunch of times, and they didn't want to hire me. So finally, when I said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go through this program and become a teacher, I was like, all right, well, hey, can you guys like take me as residency teacher? They're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. And so it's not just me, my husband's in the program too, so we're both residency teaching here. And I teach tribal government and Indian studies, and I really love it. They keep asking me at the school, like, what's your purpose? Like, why do you want to teach that? Why do you want to do that? I'm like, well, first, my background is in law, right? That's one of my loves and passions. And my second thing is that I want to help to create a new generation of ethically informed tribal members and citizens of their nations, because even though it can be boring to go to tribal meetings and be boring to learn about what's going on and vote, and some people just think it's drama, but it's important for these young kids to know that going to those meetings and knowing their tribal constitutions and what they can and can't do, and if they think something's questionable, I tell them, you question it. Ask them to explain to you. Like, you don't understand, ask them to explain. And so a lot of the kids are receptive, and they now want to be more active, like in their tribal government when they go back home, because I keep telling them it's important. Like, your parents were making decisions for you, and you're going to be making decisions for your kids and your grandkids. You don't want other people making those decisions. You want to make those decisions. And so a lot of people are interested in what I have to say about that, the kids anyway. And I just try to I try to encourage them. I know it could be kind of boring here, so I've come up with different things while I've been here as a teacher for them to do. And you know, I'm having a coloring contest right now, and I tell them, like, even though it's just coloring, it's just something like you're gonna get a prize. So just try to do little things to like keep their spirits lifted. And I think the rapport that I have with students is different because I actually went to school here and I lived here. So, and some of the kids, it's kind of crazy because some of the kids that go to school here now are Sherman babies of kids that I went to school with. So I feel old, but it's really cool though. I was calling them my Sherman nieces and nephews. And so it's cool though, and you know, the kids, new faces, same people, if that makes sense, you know, so I can connect with them on different levels. So it's cool, and I'm glad to be here now in a different capacity and, you know, try to do something for the better.
My name is Ava Chavez. I am from the Tule River Yoka tribe. I am a senior here.
What did I tell you when I first met you and you said you're Yoka? What did I say? We're neighbors, because our tribes are neighbors. So I was like, oh, we're neighbors.
When I came here because my family wanted me to come here. My siblings talked about it all the time. They told how they loved it here. So when I became a freshman, I wanted to come here as well. My first year, I was awkward. I really didn't know what to do. I never knew any other natives. I was actually enjoying myself once I was getting through. I didn't really know how to go or do anything here. I'm sorry, my bad. You're good. I don't really know much about my tribe. I knew little to nothing. When I came here, I started learning more about my tribe, my people. Before I came here, I didn't really care about my people or my tribe because I didn't know nothing. So when I came here, I actually started caring more about it. I wanted to actually do something to help my tribe, but then the pandemic hit and it kind of just went downfall for me, especially for my sophomore year. I wasn't doing good at school at all. The paper packets that we had to do, I was failing that. The online schools, I was failing. I honestly thought I wouldn't make it. But then I eventually came through. When I came back my junior year, I actually got more involved with everything for once in my life. I grew more confidence in myself. I didn't become as shy as I was before. I'm still shy, but not as much. Yeah, Sherman made a real impact in my life. My grandma came here, and my mom didn't come here. She went to school in a town, city near our res. But all my siblings came here, but I am the first one to come for all 4 of my years. I get to say that with proudness. Get to brag about it. Yeah, it's fun. I get to know more about my people, about my religion, learn everything that I didn't know before. And I'm glad that I came here, and I'm glad I came back here to enjoy my life here. Yeah. During my junior year, when I was getting involved more, teachers and staff started seeing that, and one of those teachers wanted me to become a tribal member to become part of ITC, the Intertribal Council. So I did. I didn't really think I was gonna get voted in, but I became vice president. Then when the next semester came, our president had to leave and I had to step up to that title. Then during the end of junior year, I applied for president again since no one else didn't want to. So then I'm president again this year, and hopefully I'll be able to do activities for our peers. Yeah.
Can you explain what Intertribal Council is?
What's the student
This
body?
is just a student body government. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Maya Begay. I'm the Navajo Nation, part of the Navajo Nation tribe. I'm originally from Vanderwagen, New Mexico, or Nutton-George. I recently moved to Riverside, California 7 years ago due to my dad losing his job in New Mexico. So he wanted us to have a better education here in California, so that's how we moved to California. And he started working here at Sherman Indian High School. My parents, well actually my dad was the only one that went to a boarding school in New Mexico, which was Wingate. He had some experiences there and he doesn't ever want to tell us, but there are times where he does break down sometimes and he tells us his side of the story. And usually it kind of like gives us a reality check of what happened back then. But my grandparents also came to Sherman here. For my grandma, she came with nothing. She had nothing. And her parents died due to smallpox from the blankets that the government gave them. So she came to Sherman with nothing, and she said that Sherman saved her life for her. She said she had the hardest time, and Sherman in high school actually gave her the opportunity to live her life again. And so she always tells us that every time when we come to Sherman, she tells us her story and what she had here and her memories. And so it kind of gives us like a huge kind of background of what she went through and everything. But my Che, on the other hand, he kind of explains us about what kind of happened to Sherman and how he thought that it helped him, but there are some memories that he doesn't like to talk about either. But we still like to hear some of his stories from time to time. But for me, I never experienced any of that. I personally had a better time before I went to public school and everything. But only reason I went to Sherman was because I wanted to be with other Native Americans due to going to school in California. I was near non-natives, and so when I came with other natives, it was kind of a whole different experience for me. And it was kind of a culture shock for the public school in California. But when I came to Sherman, I felt very welcomed, and it was something that I've never had as I did on the res. And so it was something nice to have and feel. But my freshman year, I was pretty outgoing. I was always attended powwow nights, daughter of traditions, and try to be as much as I can with my culture, because not a lot of the kids that I knew here at Sherman knew their traditions nor followed, but they were still proud that they were native or whatever tribe they came from. And so it kind of hit me that a lot of the kids now these days don't really know where they come from. They don't know their clans, or they don't really know anything about themselves. And so growing up, I try to, be as outgoing as I can as possible and try to say that, maybe you can learn something about it, or listen to your grandparents, or listen to your parents and all that. So it was kind of a huge difference for me, but it still kind of went through a better route. But I'm a 4.0 student. I'm on the route of valedictorian, and I became Miss Sherman because I did it for the movement of Every Child Matters. I wanted to feel as if every child mattered, and so that's why I ran for Miss Sherman. that was the whole reason why. Even though there was people pushing me out from the side, telling me to run and everything, but I ran for Miss Sherman was because I wanted to feel as every child mattered. And so that's the whole reason I ran. But being at Sherman here now is like a whole new experience. We have so much opportunities than we ever did. And I would say that we're more connected to our culture now than I was my freshman year. I'm more like intertwined. I actually like to, learn more things about Navajo and everything. Every time I see an elder that's the same tribe as me or a different tribe, they give me wisdom and everything. It's like a good feeling because knowing that they're proud of us generation coming through and everything, it felt nice for them to listen and give me that kind of talk. So I would say that Sherman was a good thing for me. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the other girls, the trauma that was talked about earlier, it breaks my heart, because when I came to school here, my parents met and fell in love here, and they had me and my siblings. And then when I went to school here, I met my baby's dad and had a child here. Not here, but I mean had a child. I feel like Sherman was the catalyst that helped me to be where I'm at today. I'm on the Riverside, San Bernardino County Indian Health Board. I've been a member since 2007. Coming to school here, it really helped me to develop to be the person that I am today. It helped me to get up in the morning and make my bed, to do the chores, to do things that help you feel responsible. And it felt like at the time that I came to school here that we could conquer the world. There wasn't anything that we couldn't do. There wasn't anything that the teachers didn't encourage us to do. At the time that I went to school here, I feel like there wasn't so much prejudice as I wanted to come to school here because I couldn't wait to come to school with a bunch of other natives, because I figured that if I came to school with a bunch of other natives, that there wouldn't be anything, there wouldn't be the prejudice. But my eyes were open when I came here, because other natives weren't really nice to the Southern California natives, because we weren't really that versed in our customs and traditions, with our language, with our songs, as we are now. In the 90s, everything was revitalized and starting to come back, and people were starting to bring the language back. And at the time that we didn't know it, when I came to school here, I felt far behind the other kids that actually had their language. I felt like, oh man, I'll never be able to catch up, or I'll never be able to, speak fluently like they do. When I came to school here, I learned that practice makes perfect. I can speak my language, I understand a lot of it. But I think that when you don't give yourself that chance to be open-minded, I think, when you come here and you figure, oh, I can't do that, or that seems impossible. And everything was possible for us. I still come back and bring my kids, and I remember being here in these rooms, watching movies or doing different things that we did here. And it was absolutely the best time that I've ever had. I had the time of my life here with some of the students. We're still friends to this day. My best friend that I had here, my roommate, we're still pals to this day. I mean, there isn't anything that we don't still discuss. We laugh about the times that, sorry, Lori. We ditched school and we laid under the beds. She knew staff was coming to peek in all of our stuff. When we're not here, they're probably peeking in all of our stuff. So we laid under the beds, and I was like, I was so scared. I never ditched, I never was in trouble, I never did anything like that before, but I laid under there. And sure enough, staff comes in to check to see if we were in there, and they were peeking through our stuff. She wanted to come out from under the bed, and I'm like, stay under there, don't come out, we're gonna get in trouble. And I remember being so nervous that day, and I thought, oh gosh, they're all gonna know I didn't go. Nothing happened. I didn't get in trouble. No one came to find me. But I always remember being so nervous and not wanting to get caught or do anything wrong. I ended up in the, we had an honor dorm at that time, and there was boys on one side and girls on the other. We had a co-ed honor dorm. And I remember feeling so connected to the people that we live with. You see them every day, you become pals with them, and their lives literally become yours. Their celebrations are your celebrations. Their sadness becomes your sadness. You know, all you can think about is trying to heal your friend that got some bad news from back home. You know, and I remember my mom used to come pick us up on the weekends because we're local, so we'd have the best time over here, you know, because it was like my mom's here, you know. That's all I wanted to say was that Sherman really molded us. Sherman really helped us become the people that we are today. And I appreciate that. And there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for the alumni or the kids that we come to school with now. I mean, there's services that are offered through Riverside that, I remember when we got glasses or whatever here, there was only 3 colors, like black, clear, and brown. And I remember coming back and I was like, I got glasses, you know, and 10 other kids had the same glasses, but it was in their pockets, and I was like, I can see, was so excited. But now going to Indian Health, you can get Ray-Bans and glasses that actually have labels or names that you've heard of. We've come a long way, you know, from those generic glasses that we used to have. And I appreciate that, you know, because I was one of them that just felt like Sally Jesse Raphael, my generic glasses. But thank you guys for having me be a part of this council. Thank you for inviting us, and I really appreciate being on the stage with these lovely ladies. Thank you very much.
Is there any questions for our panel? We'll use the mic.
Here, I got it.
It's not a question, it's just a comment that we get emotional because working here years ago and being in the dorms and seeing what you're talking about, I can see it, you know, bed check, get everybody up to do their work in the morning, get to the showers, clean the washrooms, you know, and had to do your daily chores. And if your room wasn't clean, you'd get hours. And then you couldn't, back in the day, you could leave campus. But if you didn't do your hours, you couldn't leave campus. And I'd always put a note on my little checklist, a big smiley face if the room was clean, and a big sad face. That meant clean your shit. Clean it up, clean it up. But one of the things the principal said, and we always, in recruiting with our Native American, the students here, was that you have nothing to worry about when you go away to college. You're already one up on everybody else because you know how to take care of yourselves, you know how to do your wash, you know how to go shopping, you know how to live independently. And that's what Sherman does. It empowers you with those skills. It empowers you to be strong Native women. And you talk about the families. I was sharing with the lady over here why students come here is because they'll tell you, my grandma, my grandpa went here. My grandparents met here. You know, and to this day, it is still happening. That families, generation of families came here and their great grandkids are still here, coming and thriving at Sherman. They're thriving. Despite all the historical trauma that all the other boarding schools have, it's changed. Because now we have people like UCLA and Cal State and all the universities coming here, seeing that we have strong Native students here who know how to think outside the box, who know how to be strong and independent, And when I first came here to work, I was so impressed by how many young women could speak Papago, who could speak Pima, who could speak San Carlos, and can speak Navajo. You know, and I didn't know my languages. Back in the 50s and the 60s, it was like you had to speak English to survive in the urban setting. But all the girls and the gentlemen here, they grew up with their languages, and in those languages were those stories. And sometimes at night, I would go in the rooms, and then the girls would be homesick, and you know what that's like. They would be homesick, and you just go in there, and I would say, tell me a story. Tell me a story that your grandmas and your aunties would teach you. And they would share a story. And then in that story, they forgot about being homesick. They were like, it's gonna be a good day tomorrow, because that story kept you strong every day that you're here away from your families. And we had to remind them, remember why you're here. You're here to get an education. You're here representing your people away from where your reservations are. So walk in a good way, walk in a respectful way, walk as a strong, young Native woman, because that says a lot to the next generation, to the next generation, and to the next generation. And so one day, you all are going to be mamas one day, and you're going to be able to tell them, I was the princess at Sherman Indian High School. You know, and that's one of the things I wanted to share as a past employee, that those stories, when back in the day, when I was here, we didn't have a Miss Sherman pageant. They never had that. And then Miss Sherman pageant came in. I actually got to ask to be a judge a couple times, but it's to see how this school has evolved and how the school has evolved and empowered the youth, the adolescents, teenagers that come here. And like you said, the lady said you didn't grow up with, no, you didn't know if you could catch up. You know, and you will, because it's never too late to learn. But all the young ladies and the students that come here already with that knowledge, they're so very blessed. So very blessed. And like you said, I seen that when I worked here too, that she doesn't know her ways. She grew up here, and I said, well then help her to learn her ways. We're Indian people. That's what we do as a community. It's not us against that other tribe. It's we're all together in this together to stay strong as Indian people. So that was kind of my thing when I worked here, was like, well, teach her, help her to find her people, help her to find those languages, or teach her your stories so she can learn your ways. And so that you're so blessed. You're so blessed to be here. And I just wanted to say that, not a question, but a comment about how this campus has grown so much. This auditorium, this wasn't even like here. It was like half, you know. And when I worked here, when she talked about being in the honor dorm, and that was the place to strive for, it was to be in the honor dorm, because the honor dorm had a little more privileges. They could go off campus anytime they wanted, because they were the honor kids. They had the best grades, the best behavior, and it was co-ed, because everybody else was separate. The boys to the right, girls to the left. The only other dorm back in the day, it was called Kiva, and it was the athletic dorm. That's where all the athletes would live, in that dorm. So there was co-ed dorm, was Kiva and Ramona. I don't know if those dorms exist here now. Those are the two dorms back in the day, but now you guys are so blessed. I'm so, so proud of you. And always be proud of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your panel and discussion. I love to hear that. I was just sitting here thinking, it makes my heart feel really good to think that when my gram came here, she might have known people like you, and she might have had really good experiences as well. So that makes me feel good. A question I have from your experience here: do you have any recommendations, or are there any things that you might change or look to improve the experience or the school here?
Who wants to go?
My recommendation for the kids that go to school here is to give back to your community. No matter where you go or whatever path you take or however your life takes you, give back to your community. I remember, like you were talking about earlier, the kids coming back and saying, you know what, you made an impact, or I had seen you at a certain point, and you know, giving back to your communities, because sometimes when you didn't have the answers, it was good to fall back on people that were actually went there before you and made that path. You don't have to reinvent the wheel sometimes. Sometimes people have come up against those hard roadblocks, right? And they were able to maneuver and navigate around them. And instead of having people go through some of those things and building impossible walls for themselves, sometimes it's just having the conversation. Sometimes you don't need everybody to fix something for you. You just need that conversation, like, hey, I've been there before, this is how you do it. That's what I feel like if somebody else before me would have come and said, you know what, put all your ducks in a row and do this first, get your education first, do this first, or whatever the case may be. But forging those community relationships so that you're able to show the community, I'm in a better place now. And didn't have all the answers, and I still don't, and I'm able to learn, and I'm able to come past the things that I've done so far. So keeping yourself healthy, drinking a lot of water, exercising, those types of things are those things that they're simple and they're basic. But until you take care of yourselves in those ways, and you're like, man, I just don't feel good. I don't think I've met a person alive that doesn't say, oh, I drink lots of water, but when your hair is dry and your nails or bits are dry, you know, you're like, maybe you should drink a little more than that. And it comes basically down to that: drinking water, exercising, getting enough sleep, finding those things that when you're stressed or whatever's going on, finding those things that you're able to relieve those stresses, you know, finding those things that help you, whether it be walking or writing or learning your language or your songs, picking up basket weaving, whatever it is that you're able to contribute back to your community. Those are the things that I'd say.
I think something would be, because you asked, right, like what could be, would you ask like what could be better here? So I think maybe like if more people were here from like, okay, so yeah, like I'm from California, right? Like there wasn't a lot of us here, but like now there's like hundreds of them. Like they all can relate. So like when you have more people like from the same place, like it feels a little better, right? So like even though we were from Southern California, like we still hung out with the kids from Northern California because we're all from California, you know. And so like even like when I first started residency teaching, one of the kids, he had on a shirt that said Klamath. I was like, oh, that's what's up. I love the Klamath River. And we started talking. And when we had our alumni day, me and my husband, we went out there and we smoked fish in like the traditional way. And he came and he was helping us. And we didn't even barely know him, you know, but because we had that like connection, it was more like more fusing, you know, like you feel better being with other people who are like-minded, which is cool because we're all natives. But like when you get like more micro, like into tribal, you know, like it feels better when you have people who understand or like who practice the same traditions, like our seafaring or like from the river, you know, because you can have those conversations. You can talk about like, oh, going to a bear dance, or, you know, different, you know, oh yeah, did you see those bad like feather dancers? Like, if I could talk to somebody like else about it, but they're not gonna fully understand it because they don't know what those dances look like because they come from somewhere else. But being with people, like other people from California who understand, like just having people here like from the same place, like that's why I always sort of say like, oh, I try to get more people from Cali to come here, you know, like to make those connections. And like anybody who wants to start a project to collect donations, like, we accept donations. Like I know, like we have a closet like where there's school supplies and even like snacks. People like actively collect for the students. Pachanga right now they're doing what's it called, like a Christmas drive or something where the kids scan a QR code. They put whatever they want for Christmas and Pachanga's gonna grant their wish. Like they didn't have that when I went here, but I think that's so cool because like you just never know. Like people, I used to see people cry like when they would, it'll make me cry right now. I used to see people cry like when we would have to go home for the summer, go home for Christmas because they were going home to nothing, you know. And I don't know how many times like I gave away jackets. People would be out in the rain, no jackets, no nothing, and my grandma would be like, give it to them, I'll buy you another one, don't worry. And so I would just like give my stuff away. But like, yeah, just like making sure that all the kids have like everything they need, especially like if they're coming from areas where their parents can't provide for them wholly. So that's just my thing.
Do you ever have tribes from California come and kind of visit and do cultural programs?
Oh, yeah. I think they do, right?
That's one of the things I was gonna say that I see a need more of is the tribal participation from the tribes affiliated with our student body. I know in years past, when you look through the yearbooks and things, you'll see the tribes would send, you know, families or tribal leaders out in the tribal vehicles to come and visit. And I'd like to see more of that now that things are clearing up and we're out of pandemic and all of that, and just more of that. Like for instance, Tribal TANF from Bishop. A few years back, they sent, I think they would come once a month, the language teacher. You know, we have the language center, we have a language room, which the students can just utilize the resources I have there and do study groups, but to have someone from their tribe. But now we can do virtual also. But I really think there needs to be more tribal involvement, just to come and visit their kids and also send cultural representatives. And yes, we do the local tribes. They've all adopted us, and we do a lot of things with them. We have last night we had fire. We do every other week the smudge and talking circle fire, and they're local tribal people. We have when we have our powwow night. We call it powwow night, but it's culture night every Wednesday, and visitors come. We have a lot of different things like that where the local tribes come and support, and we also go out there. I wanted to acknowledge Alexis's husband here, Ricky. Can you stand up for a second? Because his grandma, his great-great-grandma, Rosita Velasquez, came.
Great-grandma.
His great-grandma. Yeah, this is your mom's grandma, yeah. She came here in like 1900, I know she was here in 1908 because we have a picture of her, but, and to see them when they come and do their dances and representing their tribe and her songs and things. She's another one that, a language book, the Muluetan of the Copeño language, you know, another resilient woman. There's several of them from our local tribes that attended here and went through all those, all that you hear about and still went on. But I really like to acknowledge Ricky and Alexis, the things they've been doing. I think we got to see some of their kids dancing here. They came for our alumni day, and it was really something. But it is so hard in working at the museum to these stories. If we just said one way of like, oh, everything was rosy and good, you know, somebody that doesn't want to set foot on this campus because of the terrible things that happen, you have to acknowledge them. And then on the other hand, those that had good experiences, and then if we just all one way, it can't be done. So this is good that we're able to hear everybody's stories because they all matter and they all impacted our lives. I mean, like I said, with our family, and just going through that, speaking it, and like we had the journey of forgiveness here in 2007, and that's what the White Bison organization did, and they went to all these schools and provided just like this as time for people to speak, and then to have ceremony, and then to forgive in a way. We're not here to not saying, oh, it's okay what you did, but to let it, so you're not carrying it. So I think this is so good because everybody's story is so important, and especially the ones that couldn't speak up before, because we all have those elders that, like my grandma, I knew what things, we even found documents on things that happened, the incident, different things, and you know by their behaviors or things, it's passed down generationally, and we know that. And so it's so important to hear the good stories and the bad, and everything. So I think this is so good. And I don't know if there's any more questions for our panel, but did you have a question? Yeah. But I think this is so good, because all these stories matter.
Hello, my question's for Alexis. I was just wondering how you got involved at UCR and University of Oklahoma so that you thrived really well.
So like I said, Miss Clifford, she used to work at UCR, and so she's the one who told me to apply there, because I applied to like a bunch of different UCs, like I said. So she told me to apply there, so I applied there, and then there was some local Kauai people that would come and volunteer here from the Madrigal family, and one of their sons, he became a good friend of mine. He kind of convinced me. He's like, come on, like, I'm gonna be over there, like, come over there. And then I had a cousin who was living out in Wisconsin, and he came out here, and he was going to RCC, and then he was gonna go to UCR, so I was like, well, maybe I'll just go, like, I was like, well, maybe I'll just go over there. Plus, they gave me a lucrative package. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna go there. And then I ended up just fulfilling my studies over there. And then how I ended up at the University of Oklahoma, it was basically like research-based. I looked where I could receive a degree in something that I wanted to work, like in an area that I wanted to work in. And there they seemed the most well-rounded. There are other programs that do like Masters of Legal Studies with emphasis in Indian law, but it's not considered a Master in Legal Studies, it's considered like a Master's in something else. But mine is different because at OU, you have to learn American law first as a basis. And some of the other programs, they do not require you to learn American law. So I felt it was more lucrative for me to learn American law and then build on Indian law, because Indian law is based on American law, right? So how can I go around and defend tribes and contract for other tribes and, go to court and defend, ICWA, tribal court, without even knowing the basis of American law? So that's why I chose Oklahoma, because their basis was American law, then you learn Indian law. And we actually learned international Indian law, like UN stuff, so I thought that was really interesting too. So that was why Oklahoma was my choice. Sooners, hey.
I guess my question is a little along those lines. So what is your why? Like, why did you decide to make the choice to go into education after high school?
I had nothing else going on. Pretty much, I had nothing else going on. So, and I wasn't about to go to work. So, I was like, well, I'm just gonna go to college, and they were gonna pay me to go to school. That's why I'm still going to school. I'm on a Office of Indian Education grant. I get paid to go to school, and they pay my tuition. So why not, right?
Have you all heard of the UC opportunity?
Yeah, so that's really cool. I wish they would have had that when I went to school, because I had to work my butt off to get scholarships. But I worked really hard, and I worked with financial aid, and I got scholarships like to pay for my undergrad. And yeah, I wish they would have had that when I was going to school. Or you could just say, why do you want to go to college? Or do you want to go to college?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think you would go to UC now that it's free?
No.
No, Tule River, they could go in. They pay for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Your chairman's on the council too.
Thank you. And that was one thing. Like when we graduated, they say like everybody that gets a scholarship, and they're like, so and so from Tule River, the full scholarship. I'm like, oh, they're so lucky. Like, oh. So say where you want to go.
I'm thinking to apply to IAIA in New Mexico.
I want to pursue in higher education because my mother took the scenic route, and when she always tells us why she took the scenic route in college, and so she tells us never to take the scenic route, and that once you get your degree, no one can take that from you, and so that's what we learned, and so that's why I want to pursue in higher education. So I applied to colleges in the East Coast, so New York, Virginia, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I love the snow. But I recently got accepted to University of New Haven in Connecticut for the forensic science. They're offering me a presidential scholarship of $30,000. But I'm still waiting for my dream school of Penn State University. So yeah, but I'm using my major, which is forensic science, as a way to come back to my community and help my people. That was the only reason why, but yeah.
I just wanted to put out there that higher education is really important for our younger generation, but vocational schools are also just as important. I graduated in 2008 from massage therapy school. My son is going to massage therapy school right now, and my other son is going to college at the desert. Sometimes when people think about education, they put themselves in a box and say, you have to just go to school and go to do this or that, but I don't know that I've ever met a person that couldn't use a massage or a haircut or, different things, a celebratory, people want to eat, there are other things that you can put your time in education to, because those are important. And I think it's cool when we have our local casinos and different things, and we've got people from our tribe that came back as our chef or general manager or different positions that they put themselves into with the best interest of the tribe at heart, and I think that's important too.
I just want to give a shout out about Ava, because she would not mention it herself, but
she loves the attention.
I know, I'm surprised she's not crawling under there, because usually she's like so shy, she's hiding under there. But I always like to acknowledge the work she's done here, and like we're going to work on her resume and to get all this on there, but she is a filmmaker, she is a writer, she's published both. She was it last year, the Film Fest? When you guys got to go to the Grauman Chinese Theater with the LA Skin Fest, and
happening right now.
Yeah, it was last year. They got to go up on the stage, and she's a filmmaker through the efforts here the work we've done here, and 2 poetry books which she was showing at the museum. We have them done at the museum, but a lot of opportunities, and those are some of the opportunities that she's taken, and so I think IA will be a great school for her too. That's currently what we're working on. We work with Pitzer College and the Social Justice Media Department, and we've done filmmaking with them for the last 10 years. We've produced several films, but right now we're doing our commentary session on reservation dogs. And Ava looks really cute when they all dress up in those white shirts with the black tie. We got. I should have brought the poster here so I could embarrass her more. And we do we watch the reservation dogs every Friday, and then we do the commentaries, and the kids are behind the camera and in front of the camera. And then like last week we went to do editing at Pitzer there, and so it's really great. And she's been part of that program since freshman year. And it's called Sherman Reservation Dogs or Sherman Dogs. What do we gave it another dog? I forgot what they
Sherman Dogs.
And our program's called Indigitize, and one of the students gave it that. Our program's called Indigitize, and that was coined by one of our students who gave it that name.
That's great. Well, we have a Native Youth Council that's associated with this council, if any of you are interested. We're...
I'm not a youth anymore.
You know what? They have young elders. I think they have old youth.
Young elders? What is that? That's not me.
So, if any of you youth are interested in working with the council, we'd love to have you, or even just kind of advising. We're in the process of potentially putting together a documentary of this whole process, and would love to have some Native youth perspectives in there. So we'll keep you all in the loop on that. Thank you so much. This was a wonderful way to round out this panel, and really appreciate all of the things that are working here. Thank you for your time and your energy. And you don't have to sit up there anymore if you don't want. And then we have an announcement about a book.
The girls are going to pass out one of the, if you didn't get one at the museum, this is our Along the Chaparral project. There's essays in here by some of our students regarding those interned at the National Cemetery, that some of you got to visit earlier today. This project was through UCR, and so several of a few of our students did essays in here on the native veterans that are interned there. And on the front of the book here, you see the mural that was part of the project. The mural is on our 1939 shops building, and it was designed by our students, and it's the background depicts the National Cemetery, and it has Ira Hayes and a Native veteran on there, so we just wanted to share that with you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite Chag up to share as well. And I know we're almost at time, but he's gonna share some info with all of you, and he also has a nice gift as well for folks. Here, I'll just meet you up there.
Thank you. So, my graphic novel, I brought copies. I think there's enough for everybody here. The quick thing I wanted to share is the Pechanga tribe owns the press. And then here's my my Avenger, the native version of Django, right? Like, I can't go back in time and wipe out those militia myself, but I can create a character and write about it. So anyway, you want to come see it? See it.
I did get take a picture of it.
So I will close us out, I think, as you all come up. Here, I can take pictures. So we're at about time. I put the recording back on, so you're all still being recorded. So if you have anything to say, go stand right next to the camera and we'll hear it. But really do appreciate all your time, energy, thoughts, and just even sharing in community over the past 2 days. I know that the topics that we discuss in this council are very heavy, and really appreciate that people are coming in and sharing themselves in this space, and encourage you to come as we move forward in this process. I think we're going to come back to the LA area in the next couple of months. I'd like to have a listening session at Pavagna. So we'll be kind of thinking about that and whether that might work in the next couple of months. But any council members have any closing thoughts?
I have a question. Hello, everybody. As Mrs. Siskowak had said, that I'm one of the new residential teachers here. My experience here is purely introductory. I've never been here. I never had an experience where I was schooled here. But actually, my wife had said, I have my nephew here. They graduated in the last 5 years. Another cousin. We helped them get into RCC and finish their schooling as well. And their experiences here, they said they were very well. My question is, who is the council here? Okay, cool. I just wanted to know because, of course, I'm going to introduce myself as well. But, for this council and having this whole gathering here, it's very important, and I'm very appreciative for your efforts to make this happen. I've never heard anything like this before. I've never been here. My great-grandma, she was moved at 9 years old from the Warner's area, Warner's Hot Springs area. They're relocated to our tribe where we're at now, Paula Indian Reservation. It was, her reasons for being here was through forced assimilation, everything from historical trauma, intergenerational trauma was realized. I have family members who had served in the military. My brother had served in the military. I believe you know my brother David, David Drill Jr. He was in Afghanistan. I have cousins who are still stationed out there right now. And I'm very appreciative for this council and for your efforts to make these issues aware. And hopefully going forward that there is some type of benefits that are realized on behalf of Sherman, because like I said, I'm here as an academic, I'm here not as a staff. My dad did work here before in the 90s as a staff, working with the students in the home living department, but my experience here is still new. I barely got here, so like I said, I just want to extend my appreciation for your efforts as a council, and thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Yes, and I just wanted to say thank you for everyone for being here. As a member of the council, I felt like I learned a lot. I really feel like this was a great example of, walking a difficult road sometimes together to share things, but it can end up to feel like we're on the road to recovery.
Absolutely. Oh, come on, Isaac. Give us a little something.
Just want to echo those words as well. Thank you to everyone that was here in person. Those of you that, I guess I'm talking into the camera, that are here virtually or listening in on the recorded session, please continue to share with us. We can't do this work without you. We need the information that you're willing to share, only if you're willing to share it. It is through coming together that we can make things happen and make a change for all nations here in California. So I welcome you to continue to share with us and look forward to hopefully meeting you in person if you're not here in person.
Mm-hmm. That's how you end it.
And that's a wrap. Again, as you visit, can you all please make sure to pick up after yourselves? Because we don't have a big cleanup crew here and want to make sure that we're being respectful of the space. But thank you so much.
Can you go up there with the lights?
Okay. A panel, and my notes are not in front of me right now. My script is not.
Stretch break?
Stretch break. So I'd like to invite up Lori, Alexis, Jonelle, and Maya to do a panel. And
Ava. Oh, and Ava.
And Ava.
And Jonelle.
And
Yeah, she called it great.
And is Robert coming up too?
Come on, Robert.
So we'll invite all of you up, and what we're going to hear about are different perspectives, different experiences here at Sherman Indian School. So feel free to sit wherever you want. Do we have enough chairs? I'm gonna probably go down there and move the. And you can have that. And I'm gonna bring it back. Take this, and this, and this.
Thank you very much. Yeah, before traffic gets too bad.
I'll let you know when we're ready. Go ahead.